is the season for all your holiday favorites, like A Very Jonas Christmas Movie and Home Alone on Disney+.
Did I burn down the joint? I don't think so.
Then Hulu has National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
We're all in for a very big Christmas treat.
All of these and more streaming this holiday season. And right now, save big with our special Black Friday offer. Bundle Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 1 year. Savings compared to current regular monthly price. Ends 12/1. Offer for ad-supported Disney Plus Hulu bundle only. Then $12.99 a month or then current regular monthly price. 18 plus terms apply.
Does moving money across borders feel scary? This episode of FinTech Insider is brought to you by 3S Money, a fintech scale-up that makes global payments simple, predictable, and human. With 3S Money, your business gets multi-currency accounts and local IBANs, enabling you to send and receive payments in all major currencies, reaching the widest possible range of destinations. You'll also have a dedicated account manager, a real person, not a chatbot, guiding you through every step of the way. Enjoy the best FX rates, fully transparent fees, and premium service backed by regulation you can trust in the UK, Luxembourg, UAE, and Hong Kong. Go global with confidence. Open your account today at 3s.money and find out more. Hello and welcome to another episode of FinTech Insider Insights. My name is David Brear and today we have got a very special episode for you. Last month, I made my way to Riyadh for the very first Money 2020 Middle East. And like any big FinTech conference, there was a lot of noise, there was a lot of celebration, and yes, lots and lots and lots of free swag. And also, I'll be honest with you, a slight mild Arabic coffee addiction that I'm still trying to recover from as well. But beyond all of that, I left with something much more meaningful. A quiet, buzzing excitement about the fintech startup scene in the region. While I was there, I had the privilege of judging the Money Surge competition. If you picture this, 15 founders, 3 minutes each, one shot to convince a panel of judges that their startup was worthy of some serious funding injection. And wow, to say that I was inspired is a bit of an underestimation there. Our 4 winners were not just innovative, they were resilient, they were smart, and they were ready to thrive in an industry that is crowded and competitive. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I kind of told everybody about it so much in the office that we wanted you to hear from them directly. So in this very special episode of FinTech Insider, I'm joined by 3 of the winners. So we've got Orbii, Eddekhar, and Zest. We're going to dive into what it really takes to succeed in the fintech startup ecosystem over in the Middle East. And my hope, well, you come away with a little bit of a funny, fuzzy feeling as I did, inspired to hear what's happening in the region. Right, enough about me. Let's meet our startup winners. First up, we've got Abdullah Karim, who is the co-founder and CTO over at Eddekhar. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, David. It's a pleasure being here.
No worries. Lovely to have you on. Lovely to see you again under slightly less stressful situation than last time, but
Yes.
we'll come to that a little bit later on. But for anybody who doesn't know your business, tell us a little bit more about what you guys do.
Yeah, of course. As you stated, my name is Eddekhar, the co-founder CTO of Eddekhar. We're basically a Saudi fintech transforming employee savings in the Middle East. In simple terms, we integrate with companies' payroll systems. We allow employees to automatically save a portion of their salaries each month. This money is invested into regulated investment partners, and employees are able to build wealth over time without even needing to think about it. And so savings actually in the region is extremely low, not because people don't want to save, but because it's very hard, it's manual, and it requires financial discipline. And that's where we come in.
Very good. And taking it and giving people a process and a structure around it, that's a fantastic thing to do. We'll come to talk about that in a little bit more detail, but great to have you on the show. And next up, we have Naman Ali, who is the founder and CEO over at Orbii. How's it going?
It's good to see you again, David. Doing really well, thanks.
Very good. I feel like, I think I said to you this at the time, and we were talking about it just before the show. Yeah, I think you've got probably breakout star of best voice in fintech. So I think we're going to get layers on you for this one. But lovely to have you on the show and lovely to see you again. Tell us a little bit more about your business.
Yeah, so my name is Naman. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO at Orbii. So Orbii is a credit intelligence layer for modern lending. Effectively, what we do is we augment various processes of the lending journey, all the way from data ingestion to enrichment to credit decisioning to autonomous disbursement and collection services for lenders across the region. Typically, we would work with neobanks, B2B fintech lenders, and even non-lenders who want to enable embedded lending within their platforms and offer that service to the SMEs that are plugged into that.
Very, very cool. Lots of sort of entrepreneurial innovation happening in that space, and a lot of startups starting. So a lot of people needing those types of services, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think right time, right place. It's a bit of an understatement, to be honest. So, it was a problem that was glaringly obvious a couple of years back, and I guess we played it right in some sort.
Be good, be lucky, be both, hopefully. Well, great to have you on the show. We'll talk to you a little bit more. So last up, we have Rowan Badur, who is the co-founder of Zest. How's it going?
Great. Thank you for having me today. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, lovely to see you again. Again, under slightly less stressful circumstances than last time. But tell us a little bit more about Zest. What do you guys do?
Of course. So we're building a digital-first platform to power private market transactions. So what does that mean? Think about Stripe and what it did for payments in terms of infrastructure. What we're trying to do is build the rails to streamline and digitize the way private market deals are being executed. So all the way from a deal lead, or let's say a fund having a dashboard to invite their network of LPs to come and participate, to investor onboarding, to documentation, all the way up to kind of the full life cycle of the deal during setup and post. So digitizing, streamlining, and bringing everything together under a single workflow. That's what we're doing. We call ourselves the pipes, the rails, the infrastructure layer to modernize the way transactions are executed.
Very cool. I remember your pitch like it was yesterday, I have to say. It was trying to access private markets into the mainstream is no small feat, but actually giving people the level of understanding of those markets is huge, in a massively complex space. But yeah, you've got some really good ideas to how to do that. So well done. All right, well, that makes up our panel. Lots of great startups and lots of great ideas from the region perspective. But any good startup starts with a good origin story. It's always my favorite part of any superhero movie, quite frankly. But you guys have all founded your businesses. Man, that stuff's scary, isn't it? Like, tell us a little bit about how you made that happen then. Rowan, maybe starting with you. I mean, what was it? Were you so frustrated that people didn't have access to this market, or were you just bored doing whatever it was you were doing else and thought, do you know what, this startup thing seems like a laugh? Like, what was the origin story?
So it's funny. I think it's different things, and it's similar to what Norman was saying: right place, right time, in a sense. So Zohair and I, my co-founder, we've been friends since we were kids, probably the fourth grade. And we never really overlapped professionally, but there was this one very random encounter where he's like, I need to speak to you. We sat down. I remember we were back home in Jordan. We sat down in my parents' living room, and he was like, I have an idea. And from his perspective, he was talking about liquidity in private markets. He was saying, I mean, we all know this, right? The exit cycles being very long, being a small angel investor, very hard to access liquidity. On my side, I came from a whole other kind of, let's say, angle. And I remember very clearly saying, listen, for me, the funniest thing I see is sometimes I have a conversation with somebody, we agree, I love the concept of the startup, and then they're like, okay, I'll send you the details tomorrow. And then the next day I get a WhatsApp with the last page of the safe note, with the signature page on it. And I'm like, for me, it's number one, getting access to good deals. It just feels like they're siloed within groups. Two is the fact that there's no transparency when it comes to information, when it comes to kind of what you're signing transaction terms. And the way people execute is still very disaggregated, from WhatsApp to emails here, emails there, people not really knowing who's investing in them as well. So the fact that kind of AML checks, screenings are never done on a startup level. I think initially those were kind of the first things that came up. So it was kind of two-sided, liquidity governance processes. And then from my side, it was more about, okay, the transparency, access to information, and then streamlining workflows. And at the time, I was running a regulated boutique investment bank out of the IFC. And I mean, again, I was doing a lot of the compliance, reg work, cross-border kind of management of typical investment banking. And I think it took me a couple of years, but I, I I grew an appreciation for, let's say, good governance and compliance. Not in the sense, maybe not in the traditional sense, but I was thinking about, okay, look at our markets. We're still nascent, at least at the time, 4 years ago. We were nascent, growing very fast. Without the right fundamentals, whether it's compliance, whether it's governance, whether it's kind of the way things are happening, how will this be sustainable? And it just made a lot of sense. I remember it was a very quick decision. We went to our lawyers at the time, and I'm like, guys, are we crazy? Are we too crazy, or are we just a little bit crazy? Shall we go for this? And they're like, here's the contract. Let's do this. We'll support you guys. And just basically jumped ship and started the business about 3.5 years ago now.
Nice. Finding that nice level of craziness to kick off a business is it's an interesting dilemma, though, isn't it? I remember starting 11FS back in 2016. I rang my mum up to be like, I think I'm going to quit my job. Like, this is weird. Like, but I think I'm going to go quit my job to go do this thing. But who did you talk to? Was it just, well, you were doing it in your parents' lounge, but did you go and talk to them about it as well?
So at the time, I went through many different things, right? I had a very comfortable job. I was doing well. I loved kind of the bank I was working with, but I've always enjoyed building and kind of restructuring workflows. Like since the early days, I was in banking for about 10 years, but most of my career was in kind of restructuring processes, launching subsidiaries in different countries. So I knew I really wanted to build again, and it just made a lot of sense. So anybody I talked to were like, just go for it. Like, it was a very natural progression into actually finding something like Zest.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about how it's been since that moment in a second. But Abdul Karim, how about you? What's your origin story?
I think it's a very interesting story. So I don't know if many people can relate, but my startup and my co-founders were actually blood related. So my co-founder is actually my father, and he started his first business many years ago, and he actually founded the first employee savings fund in the kingdom many years ago. And it was a big success. They grew an employee savings fund from like around 200,000 Riyadh to around 36 million. And they were getting year-to-year growth of up to 10%. And it was a big success. Even at that time, banks were willing to lend this fund to even have more investments for employees. So fast forward many years later, I graduated from college, and the kingdom has all of this ecosystem they're building. There's 2030 vision. There's all the regulation for fintech, and I'm a computer engineering graduate. And so he said, okay, why not? We work together and we build this as a fully automated platform. And that was kind of the beginning. And you can't say no to your father. I mean,
yeah, I was going to say on that one, it might make for some really awkward Sunday lunches potentially. If does he ever pull weight on? Like, I'm your co-founder, but I'm also your dad. Like, so that's kind of a bit of a trump card in the boardroom potentially.
No, in business it stays business, but you always have to keep that level of respect there. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Nauman, how about you? What's your origin story of getting the business going, or what was the itch that you wanted to scratch with it?
Yeah, so I think when my entrepreneurial journey started really early, growing up in London on the weekends, I was always inclined to take a problem and try and fix it, whether it was, solving code problems for my friends, etc., and basically hustling my way through school. But academically, I graduated in computer science and started life as a deep tech AI engineer at Microsoft, and did that for a number of years, and then realized actually there was a world beyond Microsoft, and then ended up at the Bank of England for my sins, where I was working on the RTGS platform, which stands for real-time gross settlement system, and then was involved in building the intelligence layer on top of that. once I got done there at the bank, I thought, oh, this is cool. What actually started off as a freelance gig then evolved into a sort of an AI engineering company, as you would, and started using my network of tech folks to start taking on larger and larger projects. Did that for a number of years, and the frustrating part of that was building products, palming them off to our customers, and then never seeing them to fruition or to their full potential was a little bit frustrating. So I came out to the Middle East exploring another big problem to sort of get my teeth into, and I have a habit of biting off more than I can chew. And coming out here, and I guess compounded by my own frustration over the years, watching good businesses get turned away from credit simply because, the current legacy model doesn't fit the way in which, in terms of identifying the eligibility of them. And I've spent a long time in AI and financial services, and one of the patterns that became painfully clear was, there's lots of data, but really the intelligence isn't there. So I got on the phone to my co-founder Guillaume, who I met back at Microsoft, and Nisara, who had met in London on various different projects, and basically said, look, guys, I think I'm onto something. And credit to them, they were on the next plane out to the UAE. And next thing you know, we were brainstorming on a whiteboard, trying to solve this particular problem within the region where, because of the lack of data and because of certain businesses that don't really have formal credit history, and to try and identify their eligibility through understanding financial behavior. And that comes from, how they manage inventory, pay suppliers, or handle cash flow. And we felt that tells a way more compelling story of how healthy your business is and their eligibility, as opposed to the static, backwards-looking way in which credit history works and still works in many ways today.
Yeah, I think I said to you guys, actually, to you at the time, it's like nobody drives a car just looking in the rearview mirror, right? Actually, if you're trying to predict the future, you've got to kind of have good data sets to look ahead of the track in that way. But I mean, it all sounds like you've solved, you've tried to solve a big industry problem. You've seen an issue, you've seen a customer problem. How has it actually been running a business though? And I'm gonna let you kind of, I'm going to tell you, 10 years of running a business, it sucks sometimes. It's everybody thinks being an entrepreneur is you're suddenly going to get issued with your turtleneck and Steve Jobs pose, but it's hard, isn't it? This stuff is difficult, and actually, there are real peaks, there are real troughs in that as well. How has it been, Rowan? How's it been being an entrepreneur running your own company?
It's funny. Before I started this, I thought I was already a person who took on a lot of responsibility. And I thought that I didn't really switch off. I thought I was working 24 hours. I mean, that thinking was completely not there. I really think it's like having a baby in a sense. It's like you really cannot switch off. You really cannot switch off. You're always thinking about a million things at the same time. And any second you are not thinking proactively about the future, there's a massive opportunity cost. And I think, you start feeling it from the beginning, but as the company grows and as you start having employees and real business and real clients, it just becomes a lot more just real and there all the time. And it's been an amazing journey, because you're forced to be creative. You're forced to kind of manage your emotions through everything. You're forced to mature as a leader, as an executor, as kind of different things, and wear different personas in different circumstances. So for me, although it's been very difficult at times, I don't think I've learned as much throughout my entire life as I have the last 4 years. It's just been, again, good, bad, altogether. It's just been, you learn a lot, and you're forced to level up all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that kid analogy, I think, is the right one, because you can almost feel guilty if you're not thinking about it as well, right? So there's a weird cycle on it as well. I mean, you've obviously all of you kind of worked at bigger organizations as well, but actually it takes a certain type of person who can work at a startup company and a gigantic organization as well. Do you know what I mean? The 11FS's first offices, when we did it, was roughly the same size as where we kept shoes when I worked at Gartner. The ability to to work at both of those levels? Do you know what I mean? Like, who's putting the paper in the printer? You're putting the paper in the printer. In fact, you're setting up the printer as well. So it's like dealing with all of these different things is an interesting balance in it. Nauman, how about you? What's the feeling like running your own company?
So for me, particularly coming from a tech background, and it was particularly challenging, I'd say, because being technical comes with its advantages, but also disadvantages. And so, you tend to explore. You think you can solve the problem by building the most elegant solution on the planet, and then you tend to sort of you tend to go too far down the path of solution building, and then you've got to hold yourself back and go back to the customer and speak to the customer and understand and stay focused on the actual problem itself. So that part was quite challenging for me, which was no, we got to stop getting lost in the code. We've got to step back and we've got to focus on what we're trying to solve for the customer. And then wearing multiple hats and stepping away from the technical side of things, and then selling the solution and talking to customers, that feedback to customers, all of the things that you have to go through running a startup. And it's almost like you're trying to predict the next thing that could potentially fail at every single day, multiple times in the day, while still trying to maintain the right level of optimism and focus on the vision that you're trying to solve, the problem that you're trying to solve. So it's sort of the right level of being grounded in the reality and facts of things versus having the right balance of optimism. I think that's something that you come to try and find as you navigate the startup.
Do you know, I used to have that quote on my CV. I had it literally was the, am I a pessimistic optimist or an optimistic pessimist? And I'm trying to figure out which one basically was like my strap line. But it's like, it's true though, right? And actually the consequences of both of those things are so much more severe, aren't they? Actually, if you're, when you were sort of knee deep in RTGS in the Bank of England, then actually, documenting the risks is important, but actually avoiding the risks are really important when you're, running your own thing, because actually it's, it could be fatal if you don't navigate those waters, right? So it's a very different challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Coming back to that point, I think it's if you get too grounded into the facts and that can sometimes lead you down the path of negativity, and you feel it can push you away from the optimism and the vision. And if you get too focused on being an optimist and focused on the vision, then sometimes it can pull you away from the reality of things, and you tend to have your head in the clouds. And so I think finding that balance, and it's easier said than done. Honestly, I believe I'm still navigating that today, and I probably will for many years to come.
Yeah. One thing that you said that resonates a lot, my company, am I building for me? Am I in a silo, or am I building for the world or for my customer? And I think that's a trap a lot of people fall into. It's very easy to sit down with your code, with your product, fall in love with it, and forget to listen to the market, to the client, and step out of that. So it's one thing, that resonates a lot, I think, with a lot of people probably.
100%. Yeah, there's product market fit is a real thing, isn't it? I know you sort of see textbooks written about it and it sounds all academic, but do people, we always say this at the end of a project, somebody's got to give a damn about what you're doing, right? And actually, if it's not changing the way people interact with the world, particularly when you're starting a new business, it's really difficult to change behavior, isn't it? So, Abdul Karim, how about you? What's the world of entrepreneurship like in reality? I feel like we're going to put everybody off starting businesses. We're not trying to put you off. We're just trying to give you the reality of it's quite hard.
I think to add on to Rowan, like the baby analogy is excellent, because it's a very painful experience, but it's also very rewarding, and it's very humbling, I would say. The amount of business and like the amount of experience you need to go through is unlike any other, I think, career, being an entrepreneur. And it's very exciting. And I would say by far it's one of the best decisions I've done in my life, regardless if I do a big success or fail. But the amount of people you meet, the conversations you go through, the experiences, the up and downs, is accumulation of very beautiful things that you go through in life. But it's kind of like sped up in across 5 years instead of waiting your whole career to really experience it. So very humbling, yeah.
It's a definite like you say, it's a definite accelerant for learning. Because it's like total Darwinism. It's like sort of adapt or die type structure, isn't it? And that really focuses you. But I guess now, to the point you were talking about with customers, though. I mean, all three of you have had to go out. What you thought you knew when you start talking to customers turns out to be quite dramatically different. I mean, Rowan, I guess when you went to customers and went, we're going to give you access to private markets, they're like, what's a private market? Like, so how was your first contact with customers?
It's interesting. So we actually not pivoted, but we evolved our model very quickly after launch. So when we first went to market, the idea of liquidity and kind of streamlining, let's say, secondary transfers of whether shares, ESOPs, that was kind of the thesis. And we were so passionate about it. We have to help people in the right way. This is a solution for the companies themselves. We were so passionate. Spoke to stakeholders across the ecosystem. We started out in venture. I mean, now we work with private equity, real estate, other asset classes, but we started out in venture. And I think the first couple of weeks, I don't think we wanted to hear the feedback. And the feedback at the time, it was late 2021. Valuations were extremely high. It didn't make sense. I mean, buying at those levels also didn't make any sense. There were a lot of things changing in the region. But I think a couple of weeks in, just a switch suddenly came on. We're like, okay, let's stop and listen. We stepped away for I remember a week. We went down kind of a new path and said, listen, so the clients are saying, we love we understand the problem. Yes, there are issues, whether it's governance, transparency, the flows. I mean, we see a lot of the elements that you guys are talking about, we see them. But I have my transaction, I have my investors, I know exactly what I want to do. Can you just help me do it in private? And we're like, a scrappy MVP at the time. I remember we hacked it. We put like a little button on the side of the page that turned something from public to private. And within a couple of weeks, we completely evolved the model from what we thought would be a liquidity solutions platform to private market infrastructure to allow you and empower you as a deal lead or investment manager to actually just execute your own transaction in private with the LPs that you bring along. And more and more listening to different types of client types, let's say, we realized that infrastructure gap was way larger than we had ever imagined, and slowly started just peeling at that peel and slowly adding more and more tools to solve as much as we can from that.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, isn't it? Like you say, almost the scale of some of these issues. And I remember, your pitch, the workflow side of things stood out really well, because actually having that standardized approach to making these things happen is really, really important. We actually had Patrick Collinson on this podcast who you referenced actually from Stripe, and his whole thing was do something really simple, solve a problem for a customer, and earn the right to do more things, right? And if you can do that, then that's a wonderful place to be, isn't it? How about you guys? Was there any sort of turns out the customer doesn't want the thing we thought they did, or Nauman, maybe on the technology side of things, like you say, kind of going away from just creating technology because it's good, but actually finding that product market fit part.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I come from a background where I've been lucky enough to be in a position where I've worked on some very global, very large global platforms, whether it was through Microsoft or whether it was at the Bank of England or when I was running my own company. So I had that level of exposure and sort of removing myself from that and getting, trying to sort of I know it's de-technicalify myself. Is that a phrase? But I guess it is now. But it literally was.
We'll go with it. Let's go with that.
We were camping in DIFC and ADGM outside of offices of really big lending companies, and we had sort of created a list of people that worked there at various different sort of levels of the organization, and we would literally hound them at lunchtime as they were going out to buy lunch, etc., just to get 2 minutes of their time and literally spoke to them about what were the challenges they were having, what kept them up at night. If they could have a wish list, what would be on that wish list? Those sort of questions, and we got some really interesting pieces of information and data just by having these very, very short, brief conversations. We earned their trust, and then they were willing to open up and have longer conversations with us. And that's literally how we started off and managed to get our first 5 early adopters that were willing to test out what we were building.
That's very cool. We always say the build it with people, not for them, right? And that is exactly, sounds like what you're doing is if you can get 5 people who will sort of come with you on the journey, then you've got, a bunch of people who will talk to other people about what you're doing as well. But, they're going to be your loyalist customers all the way through, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were quite surprised how nice people were. And I guess it's that sort of human connection. I think it's sort of, when you talk about what keeps you up at night or, what's your wish list, it's quite an emotional thing to try and when you connect through those type of questions with people, you can, and most of the time we just want to be heard. Really, we all got a bit of a whinge or a moan that we want to get out and channeling that in the right way. And I guess it worked for us.
Yeah. Start a podcast just to get it all off my chest, quite frankly. But here we are now. It is funny, that one, though, like you say, on the customer side of things, wanting to be heard. I think it's a gap in the market, isn't it? It's what fintechs, whether it's you guys or Revolut and Monzo or Stripe or whatever, like actually, whether you're customers, developers or end consumers, if you can mobilize those guys to give you great feedback, but also to, like we say, come on that journey with you, then it is a major differentiator, isn't it? So, how about you, Abdul Karim, from the customer side of things? How was the first few engagements?
Yeah, what we found is that regulation here in Saudi is actually not present when it comes to saving solutions, and kind of like similar to what's in the UK and the US, like 401k. What we do have is pension plans, and this is only touched at the end of kind of someone's career and their retirement, but day to day, there wasn't anything available. And so the incentive to really have a company, have a savings solution wasn't there until recently, when there was, just a surge of many companies opening in Saudi and Riyadh, and there's a lot of competitiveness. And so there's a lot of competitiveness in terms of, getting more employees and trying to attract them and retain them. And what we found is that having additional benefits that companies could have was something that they were very interested in. But there wasn't really a way to facilitate all of that. There isn't financial solutions today that are integrating with payroll solutions and with the banks. And it's like Nomad said, it's a big enterprise solution that you really need to understand all the pieces and know how to connect them, and then have a seamless solution for companies. So when they integrate with you, it's frictionless. It's truly a fintech platform. And that's, alhamdulillah, what we were able to do.
Very good, very good. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break here, just because we've sort of covered quite a lot of ground in terms of the weird and wonderful world of starting your own startup and everything that comes on taking that first leap. After the break, what we're going to do is dive a little bit deeper into funding experiences, scaling strategies, team dynamics. Team dynamics is a weird one. We'll come to that as well. You guys are going to have some stories. If not, I got like 10 years of them. We'll go long. And what the long-term vision is for all of your businesses as well within the region. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back with you really soon.
Oh, Hilton stay. Your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
In Walmart's Huluville, everyone ready their cart. Amazing Black Friday deals are about to start. Online and in the app, such great deals to explore. Everything you love from tech, toys, and more. The days to save and the ones to remember. It's only the 25th to the 30th of November. Set your alarms. Don't miss out. These deals are epic, without a doubt. The Who's are all ready, but are you? Walmart Black Friday deals await. Who knew?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to FinTech Insider Insights. We've heard the stories, we've felt the energy, and now it's time to go a little bit deeper. In this part, we're going to be diving into the funding journey, scaling strategies, building out the right team, and the long-term vision for FinTech startups in the Middle East. Buckle up, everybody. Right. Well, maybe sort of going back to the point where we met, that was a bit weird, standing up in front of all those people, pitching your ideas and sort of getting to it. Did you find it weird, or is it just you've been talking about your business for so many times that actually it was probably the most natural thing? Rowan, like, do you like standing up in front of, what was it, like 400 people and pitching for cash? It felt a bit weird, but
yeah. Listen, I think I learned how to be okay on stage. I think the biggest challenge with that pitch was consolidating everything into 3 minutes. I mean, honestly,
it's harsh, isn't it?
the time was, again, we're pitching all the time, and we love what we're building. So we're used to kind of just talking as much as we can and using as many words as we can. So consolidating and also using terminology that's, and I think something you learn over time as well. But I think Rahman touched on this. We used to use technical terms that nobody understood. In our heads, we thought we were so clear all the time. So I think, just making sure you deliver something concise and relatable and in terminology that people can understand. I think that was a challenging part. But honestly, it was super energizing for us. A lot of our clients, our stakeholders, investors that have come through the platform were there at Money 2020. So it just felt like the natural place to be. And honestly, we loved it. I mean, I love being up there.
Slightly different setting from your usual sort of investor pitch meeting where it's nice and casual and, you've got hundreds of people milling around and, a countdown clock in front of you just to amp up the pressure a little bit. But you did awesome. How about you guys? Was it weird? Like, or was that just like, I talk about my business all the time. This makes sense.
I have to say, like, from my side, if fintech 2020 or Money 2020, sorry, fintech 24 was last year, and this year's Money 2020 has been by far one of the best events I was attended, honestly. The amount of people I met and the fintech solutions I saw was amazing. And in addition, the audience that were there attending, it was very niche, in my opinion, because the people that I met were all very interested and all had strategic relations in the fintech world. So even after I pitched, I had people approach and they were very much interested. So for me, it was a great pleasure to come out and pitch. And honestly, after an accelerator 2 or 3, you get really used to pitching many times. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, so as Abdul Karim said, I think as founders, you find yourself pitching all the time. And for me, I remember something that I did a short gig when I was in Abu Dhabi, and I remember somebody that I really admired in the way he would speak. Said always remember, be bold, be brief, and be gone. The 3 Bs, and that really stayed with me. And being a data company for me, I guess it was quite easy to sort of talk about our the business in Orbii in terms of numbers. So it's all about projecting those numbers and show a pitch that's focused on outcomes rather than the potential. I mean, potential's great. We love a great potential story, but I think what was really important for us is to demonstrate what we're achieving, what the outcomes have been to date, and what we believe could be possible if we launched ourselves and propelled ourselves even further, perhaps with some funding, what could be achieved. And that was the sort of narrative that we followed. And I think when you speak about your own company, I think it should come natural, because there's just, we're all passionate about our startups, and let that passion come through. I always tell myself that nobody knows Orbii better than I do, because it's my startup, it's our startup, this is what we created. And so if I'm not able to tell that story, nobody else will. And I always remind myself of that.
Do you know what? I feel like that's the case with any interview, really. Like, it's like usually somebody's talking to you about your life, and it's like, that quite well, don't you? And if, like, say, if you've been living and breathing your startup for whatever period of time, then you're going to be better equipped to talk about it than anybody. That challenge, as you say, Rowan, is actually in an industry. Financial services loves to make itself sound important by using acronyms that nobody else understands, don't they? So if you can break it down into a way that actually normal people can get the why, particularly when you're talking to investors, actually, this is critical, because, you don't often get purely monolithic investors, because actually, if they wanted just companies like your company, then actually, what's going to be the market? They're going to just invest 7 businesses doing the same thing. So actually, how you can break it down to normal people is really, really important. I always kind of use it's like the mother-in-law barometer from my perspective. If I can't explain the idea to my mother-in-law, it's just not going to go anywhere. So,
it took me 2 years. It took me 2 years.
Did it? What to get to distill it
with the mother-in-law to really like 100% get to that stage? No, but it's interesting. The most, I think, interesting realization was when we broke it down to simpler terms. Even our own understanding of what we were trying to solve and what we were trying to build evolved very quickly. And we kind of saw things in a clearer way. So I didn't expect that really, but it's like, it's good for everybody. It's good for you
weirdly,
to break
weirdly,
that
it's a cultural thing then, actually, as well. Because, and I mean cultural in the sense of the way in which your business operates. Because actually, back to my point around, I've worked at many large organizations that love to confuse you by the acronyms that they use to do stuff. And it's like, but actually, if people just talk like people, then you kind of find that actually you find much more of a common understanding around the problems that you're trying to solve for, which is good. That's ultimately that's what you're there to do, isn't it? Solve problems. But I guess picking up on that investor sort of train of where we were going, like you guys obviously got comedy size checks neatly folded away into your luggage, I'm sure, to fly to wherever you were going next. But you've raised capital as well. So what's it like raising money in the Middle East? Is it a difficult thing to do? Is it an easier thing to do? Like how have you all found that?
So I think for us it goes back to solving a compelling problem. It always starts with a problem, but really demonstrating traction. I think people often underestimate how important traction is, not just to investors. Let's park investors to a side for a second. Traction for your own sanity. Are you solving a problem that wants to be solved? And if you're not seeing the numbers that can reflect that you're solving the problem, you need to move on to the next thing. And so I think the Middle East is people. I think the VCs in the Middle East, they need that clarity. They need to understand, because you have to understand in the Middle East, we're not, we're in San Francisco or in the US, these large problems have been solved 20 years ago, or perhaps even 30 years ago. And we're now solving these big problems. And so to solve these problems, it's going to take some effort. And so I think really engaging with the investors, speaking with the investors to help them understand the journey itself, the story, the traction is just super, super important. And I'm sure people have heard this before, but it really is. If it's ever true in any case, it's very true in the Middle East.
Yeah. How about you guys?
I'd add on to that and say, investors in the Middle East are, I would say, a bit different, especially in my experience in Saudi. Interpersonal skills are very important, and having a good network and connections is also extremely important. And also your last name is very important. They care about, little things where you came from, how your story kind of adds up. Having a personal connection is I think core here. From my experience, even early on, we didn't raise yet. We've raised only from friends and family, but just now even approaching investors has all been through our network. And hey, this guy knows this guy, and it's all like, okay, what's the reputation of this person? And so having that reputation, in addition to having the good traction, having a good idea, really is important.
Yeah. I've definitely found that working out there in the region, the big banks, the investors are very similar, actually. Everybody seems to know everybody. I mean, bizarrely, financial services is a gigantic industry, but a very small group. So, actually that works both good and bad, depending on which side of that you can fall to a certain degree in terms of momentum or reputation. But yeah, it does seem to be networking, and the relationships there is important. And actually, I'd say from an ecosystem perspective, this is what's really exciting about the Middle East. If I'm honest, I said earlier on around the feeling of it being London in 2014 or whatever, but actually that melting pot of different opportunities and big organizations and investors looking for the change, but probably, regulatory change as well being a major thing. Just our experience as 11FS building, a startup out in there in the region. Actually, the regulator, SAMA, has changed so dramatically over the last 10 years, which is amazing. And with that, I guess, breeds opportunities for organizations like all of yourselves as well. So, I mean, often when you're trying to build the track drive the train while the track's being built, it's complicated, but in that sense, it breeds opportunity as well.
No, absolutely. Actually, just last thing to mention about that, like the first person to get licensed by SAMA was actually, it was Lendo. They're I think what they do is crowdfunding lending, basically to companies and SMEs. And the main founder, when he was wanting to get regulated, there was a regulation at that time. So his investor was actually great friends with the governor who was in charge of SAMA. So it's like these connections that you can't really just like make. It just happens, it's kind of, you get lucky and you kind of go with it. You maximize that opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, that does help. I'll be honest with you, Naaman, when you were at the Bank of England, it was probably Mark Carney. Didn't return my calls that often, I'll be honest with you. Like, he did come on the podcast, lovely chap, but no, he wouldn't return my calls quite as frequently. Mr. Bailey, now, on the other hand, he does, which is great. But so, I mean, we're talking about the region more broadly then. Actually, what really excites you? Because, I mean, you guys are, Rowan, you say you're from Jordan. We're not just talking about Riyadh here. Obviously, that was where Money 2020 was. And actually, Saudi's definitely seemingly becoming more of a hub for the entire region. But the entirety of the region is a bloody big place. And we're talking about very different ecosystems and very different regulators. And, what excites you in the region right now?
Listen, I think, and maybe that ties into the previous question as well, but I remember 4 years ago, our first pre-seed pitch, a lot of the questions were market size. Is Saudi big enough? Is the UAE big enough? Who are you targeting? These questions were, and the questions were always focused about the market that you were sitting in. Today, our conversations are never about, is the market size in Saudi big enough? The questions have evolved to, are you building for the region or are you building for the world? Or like, where are you going? And I feel like the reason why it's become so exciting to build out of here is because we now are attracting good talent. We're attracting a lot of capital, both internally and kind of from a global perspective. And you're able to sit here, be really innovative and build for the world or for markets outside of the 2-3 that surround you directly. And yes, I think you mentioned something about kind of, let's say, regulations in the sense of it is fragmented. The problem with, I guess, the Middle East is each country has its own legal frameworks, own regulatory frameworks, own compliance frameworks. Some countries have 2 or 3 regulators kind of governing the way fintechs operate. But I think if you look a little bit closer, dig a little bit deeper, you'll realize that each of them is kind of uniquely positioned, and you can go pick and choose the jurisdiction that works for what you're building. And I think if you kind of really, really go and put the effort in learning what each offers, you're able to make good decisions and build something solid that could serve, markets far, far away as well. And so this is exciting. And all of our later kind of investor conversations have been about, okay, great, we've proven concept here. Where else is this a problem? And now we're talking about South Asia, and we're talking about parts of Europe, and we're talking about, and it's really for us, it's really exciting to see that, okay, you've started in a place and now you go outwards from here. And I think the region does give you the tools and the resources to be able to think that far and that big.
Very cool. Yeah, exactly as you say. The investors always want to see that that graph go all the way to total world domination, don't they? So actually, being able to show the region being a jump-off point for organizations to scale internationally is a really good one. How about you guys? What are you sort of excited about from a regional perspective?
I think for me, one of the most beautiful things about the Middle East is I always call it a bit of a mosaic. Each piece is very unique and beautiful, like Rowan said, and it comes with its own highly contextualized nuances, but these nuances are also very unique to that particular country. And so, but that said, I think a lot of the countries are, they understand that to get to these grand visions that most of the GCC states are talking about, there's going to be a need for regulatory flexibility. There's going to be a need for these sort of sandbox environments to allow innovation to naturally occur. And so I'm extremely grateful for that, from working with jurisdictions like the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia to provide those facilities. And they are listening. And that's the great thing about it, is they're listening, they are understanding. As Abdul Karim mentioned, Lendo was one of the first startups that managed to pave the way for other fintechs to follow suit and wrangle with regulation and get some of those policies changed, which is amazing. And we see that all the time. And so for me, that's super exciting, is to be building in a place which understands the challenge is great, but is also doing a lot of things to support startups to navigate that. And I have to say that from my perspective, we didn't really have a challenge in getting to speak to the people that we wanted to speak with. I have to say that my experience was quite the opposite. We had people wanting to listen, wanting to talk to us, and I'm very humbled and very grateful for that.
Very good. Abdul Karim, how about you?
Yeah, I would say to add to Naaman is, when you have governments and regulations enabling, it's creating massive opportunities. And like Naaman, he came to the Middle East to start his company. Many others are doing the same because there's massive opportunity here. So it's really about riding this wave. You either make it or you don't. You miss it. So I think it's a great opportunity to now ride that wave and try to see what you can capture, because otherwise, once it's sailed, it'll be very hard.
Very good. Yeah, it's jump in while there's opportunities is always a good thing to find, isn't there? So I think we're going to have to wrap up, though. I think we could go for another 3 hours, I think, on all three of your companies and what we're sort of looking forward to seeing in the region. But maybe before we close out, where do you guys want to get to? Like, I know this was part of all three of your presentations. There was at least 3 slides on it in terms of that thing that goes to world domination for all three of you. But what's the big aspiration in terms of where you want to get to in 5 years? And I promise you, we'll get you back way before 5 years to come and tell you about the progress. But Naaman, how about you? Where do you guys want to get to?
So I think, our impact is simple, but very ambitious. And one of the core values that we have at Orbii is change the world or go home. And for us, it's to make credit access universal and intelligent. And rather than get stuck in processes, access to credit should literally be just a press of a button. It should be a reflex. And we're out there, and that's our mission. And we're out there to make that reality for businesses all across the region and beyond.
Very good, very good. Looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. Abdul Karim, how about you? Where are you going to be in 5 years?
So I would say becoming kind of the default savings infrastructure for employers. Having every employee in this region to have automatic savings as a basic employee benefit, just like they have healthcare or vacation days. They should have savings, and they should be growing it over time. So the goal is to expand here in the region, GCC and MENA, inshallah.
Very, very good. Rowan, how about you? 5 years from now?
The tag we've been using recently is simplify, safeguard, and scale. What we want to do is really just build. We want you to, as a deal lead, whoever you are, an entrepreneur, a family office, a PE fund manager, we want you to step into the Zest ecosystem, pick and choose the tools that you need to execute this specific deal, and just press play. And once you press play, we have that whole execution flow streamlined for you. We started with SPVs. That was our kind of first core product, and that's been working really well. But we're launching regulated products now to also help kind of create the pipes for funding rails. Anything that you're doing, we can become your funding rails. On a distribution side, we can kind of we want to be the B2B provider serving investment managers, basically, transactional infrastructure through and through. That's the goal.
Very, very good. That's a big target for all three of you, big targets. But if anything to go on from today and from the pitch previously, then you guys have got the skill sets and the attitude to kind of go and make these things happen. So massive amount of congratulations again on the wins at Money 2020, and look forward to seeing your businesses scale over the years as well. That does have to wrap up the discussion today, though, I'm afraid. Big thank you to all of the panelists, and thank you for your time and expertise to come and break down this super interesting topic for everybody who's listening as well. For everybody who wants to get in touch with you to throw money at you to scale your businesses, or to just get involved and connect with you, where can people learn a little bit more about you and your business? Nauman, starting with you.
So you can get through to us at hello@orbii.ai. We're fairly active on LinkedIn. You can drop me a message on LinkedIn. I do respond. It's not a bot, I promise. I'm very accessible. I love talking to people, especially my customers. So you can reach us on any of the social media channels or online.
Awesome. Comments on his business, congratulations on his voice, whatever you want to send to him, do it. It's all good. Abdul Karim, how about you? How can people get in touch and learn a little bit more about your company?
Yeah, they can reach us at info@eddekhar.com, or they can also reach out LinkedIn personally to me, and I'll be happy to talk with them.
Very, very good. Rowan, Zest, where can people learn more?
Yeah, same. I'm accessible on LinkedIn, love talking to people, and zestequity.com. That's kind of our main handle, and you can get access to all of our contacts there as well.
Very good. As for me, lurking on LinkedIn mostly these days, so feel free to connect, and happy to talk to anybody there. Thank you for listening, everybody. If you like what you heard, follow our podcast, and don't forget to leave us a review. Super helps us make the show better and helps other people find it as well. As always, if you want to join the conversation or give us any comments on anything that you've heard today, find us on social media. Just search for 11FS or Fintech Insider. We're pretty much everywhere, but if you really want to, you can email us on podcasts@11fs.com. Hope you enjoyed the show, everybody. Goodbye.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here, wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.